Like, that's the in-game wheel. This is the real-life wheel. Game. Real life. Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today. And yes, this video is about a very special bit of kit, because in my hands right here, right here is my brand new steering wheel that I'm going to be using now for the F1 games, for my videos. It's the brand new Ferrari SF1000 Replica wheel rim by Thrustmaster. So this brand new rim is an add-on rim for the current Thrustmaster ecosystem of wheels. They're kind of all the highest end, latest ones they have. What that means is if you already own a Thrustmaster wheel, be it a TSP Racer or some of the other ones that are compatible with Xbox and PlayStation specifically, the base unit of the wheel, the thing that actually houses the 4C back and whatnot, and then connects to the pedals and whatnot. Thrustmaster have this ecosystem where you can just swap out the rims basically, and so this is their latest rim, which is a full replica of Ferrari's 2020 F1 wheel. Now, you guys may know, if you've been with me for a while, I've been using Thrustmaster wheels for a long while. I used to have, I don't have it unfortunately with me, I didn't move it to this flat when I moved here, it's still back at my parents' house, but I had the original replica rim they made way back in the day, and I used to use on games like F1 2012. And since then, that's the last proper licensed replica wheel they made. And I've always thought, I really want them to make a new version, because back then, F1 wheels did not have this LCD screen. There wasn't this much information needed at the driver's fingertips. But now, you know, obviously since the hybrid era, they've had these wheels with massive LED screens that give you so much info, so many other dials basically to use as well. And since then, I've been, you know, there just hasn't been a rim that's been like that from a actual brand itself. And they've had obviously some great wheel rims in the past. The TSP Racer comes with a very solid wheel, which is this one right here, was behind me. So this is the original one that came with my TSP Racer. And I've had the TSP Racer by Thrustmaster for about 5 years now. Since 2016, I've been using it as my main wheel. I will admit, used other brands in the past. Just last year, I swapped to a different brand, but I've always come back to the TSP Racer, and that's still the one I'm using and have been using for all my previous F1 2020 My Team career mode videos and whatnot, is a TSP Racer with this wheel rim. But for the last week, I've been using this one, and oh my word, is it such an experience. But that's enough talking in front of this camera. We're going to go plug it in, and I'm going to show you around the entire wheel. So this is the wheel set up on my TSPC base, which I've had for a few years now. And I mean, in terms of the replica nature of this being the SF1000 Ferrari wheel, well, this is the wheel, real life. This is my hand, so that's real. And then you look up, and it's literally the same thing. It's please excuse a really messy desk, but it's literally the same thing. It's uncanny. And like I showed with some of the close-up shots when I was talking about unboxing the wheel, I mean, it's just a very, if my camera wants to focus, it's just a very high-end spec finish. Like, you can just see the nice gloss, the carbon fiber effect that I've got going on. And then every dial, like I said, is movable. So I'll talk you around the wheel. So first of all, this switch is to turn on this screen. So they've got a whole screen in there that is kind of on its own thing. It does its own thing, and it connects to the game automatically if the game is obviously registered with the wheel. This is a brand new wheel, and so obviously the older games that came out before this wheel won't exactly work. So at the moment as it stands, the ones that work are the Codemasters F1 games, and obviously in the future, I'm assuming the plan will be to work with developers, as they would do anyway, to make sure their wheel works with the game. They'll work to make sure the screen works in tandem. So right now you can see with the Codemasters one, this is literally the same exact screen that you have on the F1 game. Like, that is the same one right there. Like, that's the in-game wheel. This is the real-life wheel. Game. real life. And then you get everything. So everything you see on the heads-up display, usually, you can get in this. So turn this switch, and we go to the tire temperatures. So on the go, you can see them. I will say, I don't think that the numbers don't update as quickly as they would on the heads-up display on the screen. So, you know, those are real-time from the game, automatically. But it's very, very good at keeping up with it in terms of the real-time tire temps, the tire wear, I should say. These are the tire temps, the engine temps, so you can see all of that. So for me, you guys know me in career mode, my team, I've got issues with the front left on fire at Silverstone. I can see that a lot clearer real time whilst I'm driving about. In terms of, you know, the practicality of that, of course, with the way I have my racing setup, I have never liked sitting in that F1 bucket seat all the esports guys use in, you know, and things like that. I've just never enjoyed it. I prefer sitting upright, like it's a normal car, basically. So for me, visually, you know, it's kind of the same thing looking left of the screen or looking down. But what I will say is driving about with the LED lights here, because that's where my eye line just about ends, is the peripheral vision around here. In my peripheral vision, I can now see the LED lights. Obviously, in the heads-up display, the way I have them, the heads-up display, the lights are here on the bottom of the screen. You know, I have, as it is in the game, basically, I have the lights here. So I always have to kind of look a little bit right if I want to see the lights. But now, whilst I'm racing about, usually I just used to hear the engine sounds of when to change up. But now I can actually visually start to use this in my peripheral vision as I look down here, and I can just see it lighting up. And so now I don't actually have to use the engine sounds. I can also use my visuals of the lights lighting up. And then, like I said, the rest of it, you get the engine wear as well, so you can see parts are worn out on the go, and then you can switch back, and obviously this just switches the whole way, so you can get back to that screen. On top of this, Thrustmaster have their own version of things. So let's say a game maybe is not completely compatible, you can still connect it to most racing games via using a mobile app on iOS or Android, and that basically will connect through. There's like a code essentially in the settings of games you would give it, and it connect via that. And then in that case, I would guess it would use the Thrustmaster built-in heads-up display style, which is still very nice. I actually really like this. It's like a little retro style dash, basically. But for games that are fully compatible and that they work with the developers, it is, here you go. Like, it literally fully looks like, well, it is the game, which is just insane. I mean, I go back to this, but, and I'm sorry for repeating myself, but it's just insane. I can't get over, and it makes me so giddy just to be like, oh, that to that to that. But then even not even, you know, replica wheel aside of the Ferrari point of it, even using the My Team car and any other car, it's just really insane to be able to like look down, you know, in between my hands. I've got a F1 wheel, a proper looking one, and then finally, after so many years of having the normal TSP racer rim, I've been using this rim for ages, and the only thing that was missing, this is a fantastic rim, the only thing that it was missing was maybe a few more buttons to kind of be a bit more customizable, and then also a modern F1 dash, because for so many years now, F1 cars have had that dash, and so there we are. And even driving non-Ferrari cars, it's still a cool experience to see that dash match the in-game one. But obviously, it's a massive cool experience driving a Ferrari with the Ferrari replica wheel, being obviously the replica Ferrari. But in terms of also size comparison, then, if you wanted to compare it maybe to the TSPC Racer, that is the size comparison. So it's a little bit smaller height-wise, but then width-wise, it is a lot thicker. Like, that's the width of that, and then obviously this was very thin, very thin. So there is a bit of difference, and I will say in terms of getting used to the wheel, I've now been using it for about a week. I used it for the last My Team episode that went out on Sunday, so you may have actually seen, eagle-eyed viewers, you may have seen some differences in the button switches on the game. I think someone even tweeted me about that, but I used that for Singapore. And Singapore was it's a very technical circuit, so I kind of threw myself into the deep end using this wheel for the first full race at Singapore. But by the end of it, really got used to it. There is a bit of difference. I think this wheel's a bit heavier on the top end versus, I think this wheel used to be a bit heavier basically on the sides and the bottom of the wheel. So there is a bit of difference that you have. But if you've used different racing wheels before in racing games, you'll know that each rim and each you know, brand of wheel, always has a bit of a different feel to it. But in terms of the force feedback, because it's the same TSPC base that I've been using for so long, it's very familiar still, and still works in a great way with the F1 game, like no other kind of base or wheel brands that I've used in the past work. This is just such a reliable product in terms of the TS base, and then you just get a sick rim now of this replica Ferrari wheel. Like I said, every switch works. I was actually going through that before. So yeah, that's the on-off. Those are the ones to customize that. This does move as well. This is more for the menu of the actual screen. So there's essentially a little kind of behind OS of how you can map the screen to miles per hour, kilometers per hour, work, connecting it with the game. So that's kind of a switch to do that. So in terms of in-game, this doesn't do much at the moment. Maybe in the future they'll map it to do certain things. But every other button, so you've got these 4 switches are kind of for the screen. Every other button is mappable in-game. So, you know, you got the pit one over there. I think they've mapped it to DRS here. So it's not one-to-one to maybe what they would use in real life, but obviously it's for a video game, so you just use whatever buttons you want. And I've even customized it myself. So it comes default with certain buttons. So default, I believe this is pause as default in the F1 game. I prefer that being the ERS button because it's a bit more comfortable for me to press my thumb like that, so I've mapped it to that, so you can fully customize it to whatever you want. All these switches, all these toggles, everything is all customizable. And then of course you have the normal TS base of 2 buttons there, and then you've got obviously the clickers. And, well, I'll get onto this in a sec. So this is a really cool thing that I want to give a big shout out to Thrustmaster for, because I think it's such a nice idea, and I really rate it. So you've got the paddle. This is the, you know, downshift. You can hear the click. I'll say, like I said, very satisfying click there. Initially I thought, okay, you've got these other paddles. You've got these 2 paddles here. So normally in an F1 car, that might be, you know, the clutch pedal. So I thought, oh, is that like a thing I can map to the clutch? But when I went to the customizable settings for this, these 2 paddles right here at the bottom, they are mapped to the same mapping as the throttle and brake. Now, I'm sure you can maybe change those, but for now, default, they're throttle and brake. So it's actually, I don't know, I assume they intended it to be like this, and if they did, then kudos. If not, then it's just a happy accident, but it's quite amazing. Basically, if you were you know, unable to use your legs for whatever reason, a disability or just a disadvantage, that you couldn't use your legs, you can fully still use this wheel rim, and you can use accelerate in a really clever way, because this is a movable, like, there's actually some give, there's actually some playfulness in this, like a real pedal, so you could play with it in your finger and kind of, you know, give it half throttle, full throttle, obviously. So you could legitimately learn and get used to driving without any use of the pedals with a conventional foot pedal. You can use it all with your hands. So if you've got, you know, there's anyone out there with a disability to the legs, or just for whatever reason, you just can't, you know, it's not viable for you to use the foot pedals, you can use these. And I think that's a really nice touch, really classy, kudos. Like I said, I don't know if they intentionally meant that fully or it's just a happy accident. Either way, though, really great, nice ones. I want to touch upon that, but I mean, let's just get in. Last little bit here of me moving my camera about before we get into some gameplay and just showing you it one-to-one. But just, it's just a very, very lovely looking wheel and a really high quality finish. So there's not actually too much to add in terms of information I can tell you guys, and like I said, I already told you how, you know, getting used to it for me was, if you ever use a Thrustmaster wheel, you'll literally know how it feels in the hands, because the force feedback system is going to be very, very similar. Yes, there's certain technologies in the wheel rim itself that will make things feel a bit different, and the way the rim is shaped, like I said, will make things feel different, but you're going to also be very familiar if you've ever used Thrustmaster products before. So yeah, just showing you guys the gameplay base, just to kind of see that very nice visual of, you know, you've got that replica Ferrari wheel and then the actual Ferrari in-game. But like I said, I think it's just a very cool experience anyway to have the Codemasters dashboard in your hands. That's like, you know, what you can use whatever car you want really, and you'll still have that cool feeling of the in-game dashes right there physically in front of your eyes on a screen in between your 2 hands on your steering wheel. So there we have it, a first look and kind of in-depth talk about my experience with the Thrustmaster new SF1000 replica wheel. Like I just mentioned, all of that, you know, good stuff. I've been using it for a week now, and it is going to be my daily wheel and driver now, and it is just a very, very cool wheel bit of nice F1 memorabilia in terms of just having this, but it's actually functional, so good to use. And like I said, with, you know, because it just plugs and plays with the already made Thrustmaster bases of wheels, it also doesn't feel too dissimilar, and you can get used to it very, very quickly. And also, I want to note, in terms of the price point, £329.99 for this. For all this technology, I think that's not too bad. I was expecting this to be over 500, or like to 600, because it's a very solid, chunky wheel. There's so much tech inside. For $329.99, I think, especially if you're already a Thrustmaster customer, it's a really good value for money with what you're getting in terms of the quality and the experience of it. But I'm not just saying that. I've not been, you know, paid to say that by Thrustmaster or anything like that. They just sent me the wheel because they know I've used their wheels for a while, and I've always maintained that they make good wheels. And, well, I've been using this one for about 5 years now, and now it's my turn to maybe use this one for the next 5 years. We'll see, basically. But that's been the video today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the look around this brand new one. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.